We've been around.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's awesome episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And yes, I do have a bunch of friends hanging around. We're going to be keeping you entertained for the next 2 hours and talking about the hottest and latest gaming news that you can't find anywhere on YouTube, but right here on Monday evenings. And of course, let's get right into, the panel so we can get right into the awesome topics I have lined up. And we're going to start with our guest first. First of all, you know him as the someone that I like to consider one of the finest human beings I know. His generosity is has no limits. But more importantly, his block hand is the strongest that I've ever seen. He probably has at least 10,000 people blocked, possibly more. Please,
23,874.
Well, there you go. Welcome, Willie Hood.
What's going on, Mr. Boom? Glad to be here tonight. Actually, after what I've been through the last couple of weeks, I'm happy as hell to be anywhere at this point.
Well, yeah, you know, obviously, if you didn't know, he fell victim to COVID-19. Him and his wife have been battling it. He beat it. His wife is on the up and up, and it's good that you were able to beat what's really killing a good portion of American citizens as well as people around the world. So I'm glad to hear that you're getting better, dude.
Yeah, and of all the games I've beat in the last few weeks, COVID-19 was the worst. The NPCs were not very helpful. It was full of microtransactions, and DLC sucks.
No, man.
So
well,
I have no intention of playing that one again.
Well, I'm glad you don't. But next up, you know him as the mouth of the south of Canada. We know him as someone that not only does incredible impersonations, but his community status, in my opinion, is some of the finest I know. He's constantly out there interacting with you guys and gals, constantly trying to get game nights going and pushing positivity, even though he's the raunchiest MF that I know. Please welcome Noof Nukem.
Boom, boom, kaboom. Noof is in the room. Thanks for having me, Boom. This is a fantastic panel. Lots of topics, great topics ahead. Fantastic chat going as well. And I got a joke to start off the show. How does Wilmy Hood impress all the internet ladies? He shows him his big block.
Nice.
Dum, dum, dum. There you go.
Yeah, well, listen, great to have you here, dude. Appreciate you jumping on the panel. We have a lot to get to. Of course, I'm going to go with Tempest Sun next. He is our resident MMO lifesaver. He's also an assassin by night on Xbox Live, but also one of the biggest Resident Evil fans that I personally know outside of myself. Tempest Sun, welcome, dude.
Oh, thank you so much. I absolutely... I love the fact that we're going to get to review Resident Evil 3 tonight.
Yes, live on the air.
Oh, yeah. So it's going to be a good night. And I love our guests. I love my man Cyber. And, of course, you, Boom. So,
well, thank you very much for being here, dude. And, of course, again, what better way to start the show than to talk about Resident Evil? Obviously, we have two more panel members, Cybernox, for our resident Cape Crusader, all the way from Connecticut, who has the best stats going. Hey, dude, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy life to be here.
Always a pleasure to be here. Boom. Can't wait to start talking to everyone about these topics. Fantastic panel. I know we're waiting on one more, but yeah, glad to be here. I know the chat's already on fire, so let's get this thing going.
Yes, and our sixth guest, it'd be our sixth guest. Gaming Forte is leaving work momentarily. He should be here shortly to give us his opinion on what we're going to be talking about. So let's rip off the Band-Aid and go right into, of course, what we're here to talk about to open up the show. And it's about this motherfucker right here, known as the Nemesis. That's the only curse you're going to get tonight. Resident Evil 3 came out Friday. And obviously, some of the reviews have been, I guess, questionable in my opinion, because the review is completely and solely based upon the length of the game versus the price. And I kind of want to just bring us all the way back to Resident Evil 2 in 1998. When that game came out, it was the first time in a Resident Evil game, or even in any game for that matter, where the game consisted of playing an A and a B version, and then replaying it again in a B and A version. So you technically played the game 4 times to get all the true secrets and all the true endings. And in 1999, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis was released. And back then, the reviewers, and I remember it like it was yesterday, one of the major complaints was the fact that the game felt like DLC as opposed to a full-fledged game. Now, we're going to fast forward all the way to 2019. My personal game of the year, Resident Evil 2, was... I mean, it's hard to say that there was anything wrong with the game. I mean, I logistically should have given it a 10 out of 10. It deserved it. It looked it. It played it. The story was fantastic. Everything they did in that game was just mammoth. And again, same scenario. You could play it as from, you can start B to A and A to B. And I beat that game 6 times already. Fast forward to 2020, here we go, and a lot of the complaints that many of the reviewers have are the same ones that were talked about way back in 1999. The only difference is that this Resident Evil 3 is a masterpiece. And if you are someone that likes going and playing and replaying Resident Evil games like I do and like Tempest Sun do, you're going to get your money's worth. Now, I'm not saying that maybe maybe my version of $60 is, significantly different than what your opinion a $60 game, should be. But if you've seen the screenshots, and I'm going to bring up some I took from the game. Now, these screenshots I'm going to bring up are directly from the PlayStation 4 Pro. So I know there's going to be some people in the chat, well, just a second, Boom. Aren't you like an Xbox guy? Well, technically, I have now purchased Resident Evil 3 times. My collector's edition is locked behind closed doors at GameStop, waiting for me to pick it up whenever they open their doors. And my Xbox One X, obviously, I think I was pretty transparent on Twitter about that. It won't play anything but apps. I played Nier Automata yesterday, and it worked fine. I tried to play Resident and Doom. It shuts off. So it's overheating. It's got to go in for repair. I went out and bought myself the Gears 5 custom console that's going to be delivered on Friday, and I couldn't wait to play. So I went out with some of the gift cards that I've been saving since last September, getting ready for this goddamn launch that hopefully happens at the end of the year.
See, that was number 2.
Yes, yeah, that is true. For the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and I just couldn't wait, and I bought it for the PlayStation 4 Pro. And these pictures that I'm going to be circumventing is I actually took from the game, and it looks that good. So you know what? I've done enough talking. I want to go right over to Tempest Sun, because I know you're chomping at the bit to get into this. We've talked privately. We've talked on the phone about this. Personally, since Friday, I have now beaten Resident Evil 3 twice. I did it both on standard. The first time I had 56 saves, no deaths, and I got a B ranking, which kind of annoyed me. It was 6 hours and like 47 minutes, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And then I bought within the shop, because once you beat it, it opens up the shop where you can spend these points that you get.
Right.
And I bought the unlimited handgun, which is awful. It's just awful, but it's unlimited rounds. And I was able to run through since midnight last night through today, before the show went live early this morning. I beat it in 2 hours and 57 minutes, no deaths on 2 saves. Did I get an A ranking? I think I got a B ranking and a C the other day, and I was a little annoyed. But it's fine, whatever. I have to get the unlimited machine gun, which is like 18,000 points. And I know this is going to piss a lot of people off in the chat, but I'm going to tell you this right now. The second Capcom offers me the ability to buy with real world money these points, I know. I'm a part of the problem. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy those points so I can unlock everything. And just, I want to speed run this game in an hour. And I can do that with an unlimited machine gun, because there's some parts in this game that, holy shit, makes you want to pull your hair out. But Tempest Sun, let's get your experience with Resident Evil 3. You and I have been looking forward to this game for quite some time. I've been talking about this since last year, and we have been hyped. And I gotta be honest, I'm really interested to hear, did Capcom deliver?
Before I answer the big question, to go to your point, how you were going to buy points, all the stuff you do for points in the game, it's actually like retroactive, and you pretty much get points by completing the challenges and or getting the achievements. So there's part of the game you can literally load up. So for example, if use somebody in the game with a machine gun, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the key parts is there's almost unlimited zombies that pour in. One of the achievements is get 200 and 400 kills with the machine gun, right? Well, you can literally keep on reloading that section, and that goes towards your achievement. It doesn't have to be inside a completion of a campaign.
Well, I did not know that.
Yeah, so that way you can farm. You can farm. So, and interestingly enough, I did some reading, and if you want to go for the 1 hour playthrough on like Inferno difficulty, you can do it with like the infinite rocket launcher. If you put in the work to unlock it, you get those items, and when you do the playthrough, you can be like Super Joe. So anyway, but to answer your real question, I absolutely think they did. I was worried when the reviews first hit. I didn't even know that they hit, but we got a DM in one of the other group messages. Somebody was just listing some of the reviews and stuff, and they weren't near as positive as RE2. And, this whole time I was thinking RE3 remake could actually surpass RE2, that's just, if you looked at the trailers and everything else, I just thought it was honestly, I might have actually have scored higher. I don't know why I thought that, because I knew going into this that it's a smaller game by design. It is what it is. It's a smaller game by design, and it is a remake of a game that came out in 99. RE2 came out in 98, so this is almost an exact repeat of the situation from back in the 90s. And, for me, it's almost a little skewed. That decade review we got close to a year ago now, everybody was like, oh, look at this. It showed my most played games, and I played literally like every single Resident Evil game that there is on the market. By far my most played franchise. I'm like, well, does that make it my favorite franchise ever? I mean, by default it might, I don't know. But so I love RE, and so I had the time of my life playing this game. I really did. The frame rate stuff, I didn't notice it that frequently. I don't know if they gave it a little love before it came out. There was some areas I could tell the frames were dipping, but I will tell you this: it is noticeably sharper than RE2. It is actually sharper.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is native 4K, and you can tell it's incredibly clean. There are some areas in the game just absolutely wowed me. Near the end, there's a certain area you go into, and it has like that real, like almost like Doom feel, if you will. Like certain areas, like when you're on Mars, dude, it looked so incredible. There was like real-time reflections on a lot of things. It was out of this world. But anyway, I think they nailed it out of the park. If you're somebody that isn't like a super huge RE fan, $60. There is a multiplayer mode, whether you love it or not. I don't know. That's up to you. But that's when they review it, they have to be like objective in the reviews. And at first you're like, well, this is too short of a game to be $60. And when you break it down, I didn't see anybody complaining about Doom Eternal being 10 hours long.
Yes, that's a great point.
And I don't know if I haven't played Doom Eternal, so I'm not qualified to give an opinion on that. But a lot of people beat it in around 10 hours, and I didn't see anybody complain about it. And that's a $60 game as well. Very, very different game, but at least Resident Evil 3, when I saw that shop, I was like, dude, that's awesome. There's like a knife that sets zombies ablaze. It's like a picture of it. It's like a fire knife, the unlimited weapons, just little things that just are cool. Like,
what they added to the store, and again, this is not really a spoiler. It gives you something to look forward to. Mm-hmm. There were some items in the game that you could purchase through these points that you get. That, like, for instance, the lockpick, or the bolt cutters, or the pouches to give you more space. Because in any Resident Evil game, you start off and there's only like 5 or 6 slots.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So right out of the gate, as soon as you go to the trunk and everything is that you purchased is there, you strap up and you're ready to go. And obviously, this is going to help speedrunners beat this thing. I mean, by the time I'm done with it, I'm going to get an S ranking with no saves and no deaths.
Right.
You know, once I get my hands on that machine gun, it's all she wrote.
Yeah, so for me and you, it's worth every penny. And I can say just from you bought it 3 times, dude. I mean, that just speaks for itself. And you don't seem salty about it one bit.
No.
For me, it was worth every penny. I rank it really, really, really close to RE2, just in terms of how much fun I had while playing the campaign for the first time. That experience. And let me tell you, some of the reviews said like Nemesis is neutered. I have news for you. If people are like, why wasn't it like Mr. X, where he's always a looming threat? If this Nemesis was always a looming threat, like Mr. X was, the game would be unplayable. Dude, this Nemesis will leap from 60 feet behind you, in front of you, with his momentum, tearing stuff up as he stops because he's so freaking heavy. This dude is insane. And they had to put him in very, very small doses because there's no scenario where he shows up that you're not getting hurt or in some way. He gets his hands on you, whether you want to or not. So, yeah, I actually prefer the way they handled Nemesis over how they did Mr. X. It was cool, him always being around and hearing the footsteps and stuff. But, I mean, there was one time in, like, the library of RE2, I played Ring Around the Rosies with him. And it's like, on one sense, it's like, oh, I can't let him get his hands on me. Then it was funny, but then, like, this dude's walking at me and I'm playing Ringing Around Rosies with him, you know? Nemesis couldn't do that. He'd be like, no, this stuff's in the way. I'm just going to break it and get my hands on you and kill you. You know what I mean? So I like how they handled him. Man, before it was my bit to do this, I had so many things in my head. But all I can say is if you're an RE fan, buy it. I don't think you're going to be disappointed one bit. If you're an RE fan, if you're not, I still think it's worth it because I think it's being judged a little unfairly for its length when other games just get away with it. It's no big deal if games are that short and they're $60. You know, I mean, people buy the Call of Duty games for just the campaign.
I do.
Yeah.
I never had a problem with the 6-hour campaign. I play through it. I usually play through it twice, trying to get all the achievements like I did in the last Call of Duty.
Exactly. So nobody cares about that, and they're just raking this one over the coals really bad. I mean, one of the reviewers I like on YouTube said it should have been a $30 DLC, and I would have that been cool? Would have that been nice? Yeah, of course. But like, I didn't really agree with it. You know, that's just my personal take. So if I had to rate it, like RE2 was like a 9.8. You know, it really was. It was my game of the year. I don't know if this is going to be game of the year just because how much stuff is coming out this year, hopefully. But I would easily give this one like a 9.0, 9.5. I absolutely loved it. So
absolutely. Well, listen, let's bring on our resident, all puns intended, horror expert in Wilmy Hood. Now, Wilmy, obviously, you have a horror podcast. You are a huge fan of horror. So I'm assuming that when you think of Resident Evil or the franchise, more specifically Resident Evil 3, that's something that's going to fall into your wheelhouse.
It has, and it's already been completed.
Well, there you go. So listen, what have your experiences been with Resident 3? Do you agree with people giving it a 6.7 or a 7.0? For completely solely basing that review on its length rather than what's in the game. I mean, the game does not suffer in any way. It's more action oriented than ever before. Graphics are just to completely die for. I mean, listen, I guess if you want to take off 1.5 points, maybe 2 points, and give it an 8 for its length, okay, fine. But there's nothing wrong with this game that warrants a 6 or a 7. That's my opinion, and I'm going to give my score in a second. What has been your experience with Resident 3? Did Capcom do the game justice?
I think they nailed it. I mean, I was blown away. I even went back and checked out the original, and there's just such a huge difference between the two. Just graphically, I mean, the game looks great. It played great. I didn't have any type of frame rate issues. I didn't intend to actually sit down and play the whole thing at once, but it kind of wound up happening that way because you just get kind of drawn into it. And man, with Nemesis coming at you constantly, every fight, man, you felt like you were just getting ready just to lose it.
Mhm.
I mean, there was no holds barred. And especially, I'm not going to give anything away, spoilers. Near the end, you're like, are you serious?
Yes. Yes.
But I
Yeah.
mean, you were constantly worried that he was just going to pop up behind you at some point, because normally he did. I just really enjoyed the hell out of it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And the $60, man, there's so many games out here now that aren't even worth $10 that we're still paying $60 for.
Thank you, Wilmy.
I can name a very long list, Anthem,
Yeah.
you know, and several others. But I mean, if you're into this type of game, you'll enjoy it. If you've ever played Resident Evil, and everybody knows I'm a collector. I've got the house from the last Resident Evil. I've got all the figures, the collectibles. Nice. This was my thing. And matter of fact, I'm going to go back and play part 2 again tomorrow. But yeah, man, I was really excited for it. I enjoyed every single minute of it. I didn't think it was really that short. My first completion was 5 hours and 4 minutes.
Nice. Wow, dude, that's great.
I was honestly just trying to get through the story, but like you did, I intend to go back and do it again and try to find the few things I did miss. But I was more than happy with it, and I'm really eager to see what they come up with next.
You know, it's funny you should even bring that up because obviously we have a second Resident Evil topic we're going to be touching on in a second regarding Resident Evil 2021. But right now, Capcom is doing a poll that GameSpot put up there. At least that's where I found the article, and they're asking the community if we want these remakes to continue, because there was some chatter about them backing off when we heard originally that Code Veronica was going to be potentially one of those games to be remade in the same vein of 2 and 3, which would be ridiculous. Code Veronica was absolutely fantastic.
And I will buy it
that many. Yeah, no, absolutely. For Code Veronica was absolutely fantastic. And that actually starred both Chris and his sister, which is Claire, obviously. And it was absolutely fantastic. A game that many people didn't actually play, because at first it was a Dreamcast exclusive.
Yeah.
And then eventually it came out for everything, but it was pretty epic when that game was released. Real quick, let me catch up with some of the super chats. First of all, Spider-Man, thanks for being here, dude. Super appreciate your $2 super chat. And he says this: RE3 too short. Name me one 20-hour horror game. Yeah, I mean it's the truth. I mean, are you going to be playing a horror game for 20 hours? Probably not. Nightwolf 3186 with the outstanding and very generous $10 super chat and says this: Hey Boom, loved RE3. I do think some people feel a certain way about the length of a game, mainly because they, like me, just wanted more game because it was awesome. I could be wrong. I don't know. LOL. Well, I mean, I don't think that anyone's really wrong, because I'm never going to say that you're wrong about your opinion, because, man, that's your opinion. I'm just saying that does a game of this quality with the graphics, and again, all of these are in-game shots that I took. And listen, folks, this is you can't make this stuff up. Here's another one of Jill right up there. I mean, that is movie quality graphics. And does that really sing 6.0, 6.5 because the game is a little bit shorter than the average game? I don't know. I got to question your review skills if that in fact is the case. I mean, maybe some of these reviewers were too scared to play and they just threw a number up there. I don't know. But you know what, Noof Nukem, let's get your opinion on this. Obviously, I don't necessarily know if you bought Resident Evil 3. Did you play it?
No, I just played the demo. The demo was actually fantastic, I gotta admit. But as far as buying the game, no, because one, that means I have to go to the store, and I'm really trying to avoid going to the store as much as possible. You guys know me; I won't pick that up digitally unless I'm absolutely confined to. But as far as You know the length of the game. I mean, it's your money. Do with it as you please. If you feel it's not worth it, you feel it's not worth it. If you do, you do. But let me put it in perspective for you guys. We all, if you're an old school gamer at least, we all remember paying 50, 60, 70, $80 for 16-bit cartridges back in the day that only lasted several hours and had nowhere near the production value or the budgets that these current games have, and people are whining and complaining. So give me a break. I would rather any day, I will take it any day. I would take a 10-hour game or 6-hour game or a 5-hour game that's exciting from start to finish, that keeps me compelled on the edge of my seat. It's like a great ride at the movies or a great amusement ride that keeps you invested, instead of a lot of this trend that we see today where you got all these games that are padding out things with side missions and quests and fetch this and fetch that and talk to this and talk that and go back here, go over there, bullshit. Like, I can name about a dozen of those games that are out there every 5 seconds now. Everything's open world. Go here, go there. And you get so sidetracked. I get so sick of those games that right now, like, I will take this over them any day. You know what? To me, 6 hours of a great Resident Evil game is way better than 150 of a freaking Witcher. I'm sorry, that's an unpopular opinion. I'm not dissing The Witcher. It's a fantastic game, but honestly, that's the one thing that keeps me finishing those games. Is they start to drive me nuts after like 10 hours. I feel like I'm doing the same shit over and over again. You know what I mean? So I like compelling stuff. I like games like this. This is more up my alley because I know I'll beat it. I might go back and beat it a second or a third or a fourth time, maybe try it a few different ways, all that stuff. But that's my perspective on it. It looks amazing. Like I said, I only played the demo. I do want to probably pick up the game at some point in time. I've heard that this one doesn't have near as much of the backtracking element as Resident Evil 2 had, which kind of,
I mean, there are some aspects where you do go back. I mean, some of it, I'll be honest with you, is optional. Like, I go back and I start looking for everything, like weapon parts and pouches and extra ammo. So you don't necessarily have to do that. I said the average player is going to run through this game anywhere between 6 and 7 hours. If you're like me, you're going to invest 20 plus hours beating it multiple times. This is not even talking about the multiplayer it comes with it, which I could care less about. I don't buy for the multiplayer. I will beat Resident, and mind you, I beat it twice on the Pro. I'm halfway through on the X. When I finally get my new system, I'm going to finish it there twice. And by the time I'm done, by the time we close out 2020, I'm going to say that I might have easily beaten it 6 times per console.
Hey, can I make a real quick point?
Sure.
I just want to say, like, when we say 5 hours, 6 hours, that's the clear time. That is like your graded time.
Yes.
In the top right-hand corner, it gives you your actual play time. That includes deaths, reloading, checking maps, the cutscenes, all of the extra stuff.
Building your crafting your materials.
And that for me came into, it was like 9 hours and 58 minutes. So 10 hours. So it was 10 hours. So, generally when you get like a seasoned RE player, we say our clear time, that is strictly your character taking footsteps and shooting stuff. So anyway,
I mean, that's actually a great point. And again, listen, I'm not here to sell you the game because Capcom's not giving me shit, right? So, I mean, listen, if you like the game, if you are a Resident Evil fan, I can assure you, whether you use Microsoft points, whether you trade in an old shoe, or whether or not you just pay full boat, I think that you're going to get your money's worth if you are a fan. Now, if you're someone that maybe doesn't play Resident Evil, maybe you waited for Resident Evil 2 to be, $15 on a summer sale or whatever, or an end of year sale, and that's how you want to, I mean, again, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that if you have to wait, shame on you, because like right now is we're in a very unique situation where money isn't as available as it once was because of the current world situation. So I'm not going to shame you or boo you because you don't want to spend $60 on a game you're only going to get 6 to 12 hours. I mean, listen, Final Fantasy VII comes out on Friday, which mine will be here delivered. And that's a game that, well, I mean, we're hoping we can put at least, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 hours into it. I still have some doubts as to how big Midgar is actually going to be. So we may be revisiting this conversation like, well, this game was supposed to be this and they stretched it out and it kind of felt like it was dragging its heels. I don't know. But if you are someone that wants 20 or 30 or 40 hours of a new age RPG that has an old school, feel to it, then save your money and buy Final Fantasy VII. That's coming out. PlayStation's got that as an exclusive. I'm not waiting till the Xbox comes out next year. I'm buying that immediately. But you know what? Let's get Cyber Gunter in here to talk about some Resident Evil 3. Cyber Gunter, I said Cyber Gunter. Oh my God,
get him in here! Get in here!
I'm reading his chat, and I'm instead of saying Cybernox, I'm saying Cyber Gunter. Cyber Gunter, we got to get you on the show at the same time as Cybernox. But Cybernox.
By the way, not to interrupt, because I sort of kind of was cut off. I wasn't technically.
Yeah. Finish.
I just want to say with that game as well. I do want to say though, with that Resident Evil. Yeah, the game is cool, but I tried that multiplayer, man, and I did not like it. That felt like modern day tank control set in a survival horror multiplayer. I did not like it. I can't even remember who I was playing with the other night, but we were just like, "Oh, this is bad." I don't know. When you're trying to play a multiplayer and you're trying to shoot multiple things at one time, and your controls feel like there's like a tornado blowing against you or something like that.
That's not good.
Like, I was like, no, the graphics are great, but I couldn't dig it. Not for me. I'm sure someone will love it out there, but I got a feeling that multiplayer is going to be DOA, man. It'll be forgotten about before most people even get through the first half of it.
Well, you know what? It's funny, Noof. I wasn't excited about it from the minute I heard it. I thought it was going to be free to play when they first announced it. I wasn't a fan of 4v1s. We've had a few of them. Not a big fan of them. Even with Resident Evil, I would have rather it just been a side story with no 4v1, just 4 players that needed to escape Raccoon City, and it was just another. What I was hoping when this thing was first announced was that this was going to be a side story, but with the ability to bring your buddies in. So it was going to be you and 3 survivors, and that you may have come across, Jill or Carlos or somebody, and you had to your mission or your goal was to get out of the city. I guess maybe like Left 4 Dead, even just in a third person perspective. And when they announced it as the 4v1, I immediately tuned out. And I think this was an experiment that they tried. They know it's not getting good feedback, and we'll probably never see this again. And that's fine. Just keep bringing us the single player stuff, and we'll be good. But great stuff as always, Noof. Let's get Cybernox in here. Cybernox, are you a fan of Resident Evil? And more importantly, did you play and buy Resident Evil 3?
So I think we've talked a little bit about this on the podcast before. I'm a big fan of horror and in general. So I haven't picked up Resident Evil 3 just because I haven't finished Resident Evil 2 yet. And I want to complete that first before I get into this one. I think we spoke briefly as well, maybe a couple weeks ago, when this was due to come out and we played the demo. I said, that first wow factor that happened, like it happened to me on Resident Evil 2. So this, this had a new antagonist, the Nemesis. But I think the whole controversy, when I can't recall Resident Evil 2 when it came out, how much was it? Was it $40?
No, $60.
Was it $60 still?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I thought it was. Okay. So I think it's a bit. I'm kind of like with Noof. If people, you can spend your money however on whatever you want, it's your money, but it's a bit subjective too. How do you justify $60 for a game, right? Is it a game like the Witcher series where you invest, or like Fallout, Red Dead, any game like that where you put hundreds of hours in, while there's others which are shorter, more linear paths, and you get through the game very quickly. So everyone's opinion of whether or not this game is it's justified by just how the length of it. I don't think that's right. If you enjoy the game and you think it was worth your $60, even if you think about it, if you just divide that by the average, let's say 6 hours to 8 hours it takes you to finish the game, you pay $10 an hour to play this game,
Yes.
So it all depends on your enjoyment of the game, and I think you can tell if you're gonna like the game or not if you played the demo. I don't know if Tempest can mention a little bit more if that's the case, if the demo was pretty close to what you can expect on the actual game. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I'll probably pick this up on sale just because, man, I'm getting through my backlog right now since I got a little bit more time. And I'm the kind of person like I gotta finish the one before I go into like Resident Evil 3. So I gotta finish Resident Evil 2 before I go into 3. But yeah, I mean, this game looks fantastic. The only thing that I'll say is I hope that I'm glad Capcom is doing, this poll. You said it was at GameStop, GameSpot.
GameSpot, yeah.
So I just don't want this thing to be that they'll come out with a new remake every year, and then it'll lose that little bit of magic that the second one had for me. Like the second one, man, the second one blew me away.
They can give me a remake every year.
I know you guys want one every other month. All right, I know.
No, in all honesty,
but I understand. I just hope it doesn't turn into that.
Well, you know what? In all honesty, what I would love for Capcom to do, and we talked about this a couple of shows ago, where Dino Crisis was in development and then it got canceled. They just didn't like the way it was going. Now, again, I don't necessarily know how far into development were they using their RE engine. What I would love to see from them, and I'm going to be honest with you, if they told me that the next 3 years consisted of remaking Code Veronica followed by Resident Evil 0 and 1, you wouldn't hear a peep out of me. I'd be like, sign me up. I'll pay $60, no problem. Give me a collector's edition for each one, no problem. I'm hoping that we get Dino Crisis remake. I think the world is ready for it. I think that Capcom as a company can hand that off to the A-team and give Resident Evil a break and let them go crazy with the remake of arguably one of the better dinosaur games ever created. And I would love to see Onimusha be remade, the original. We know obviously last year at the beginning of the year they released the HD remaster of Onimusha. I played through it. I beat it twice. Loved every minute of it, and would love to see them remake it in the RE engine the same way we saw Resident 2 and 3. It would be epic. So I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing to keep coming out with a Resident Evil game every year, because I'm not going to complain. But if they wanted to give it a break, they could easily just come at it from the angle of, okay, so we're going to take a year off of Resident Evil. We're going to put out Code Veronica in 2021. 2022 is going to be Dino Crisis, another Resident Evil game in 2023, 2024. They bring us Onimusha.
So let me ask you, since you three played it and finished it, what would you want on the next Resident Evil game? Would you want a longer?
It must be, yeah.
Okay, so what would you want? Would you want a shorter, linear path, a shorter length story, a 6-hour to 10-hour, campaign, or do you want something a little bit longer where you can be more immersed in that world and more exploration and things like that?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I'll be more than happy to answer, and I'll get everyone's opinion on that in a second. Code Veronica is long. Yeah, that's a long game because you're using Chris Redfield and using Claire. Yeah. So it's not necessarily like Resident 2 where you start a game as one.
Right.
And you can start the game as another on your second playthrough. You're just using both characters throughout the game at different aspects, but the game is very long. Yeah. So if what I would like them to do is not get creative, make the game, use the story, change what you can, what you need to change to make it a modern, understandable story. But I say don't change anything. They didn't change much in 2. They didn't change much in 3 other than crafting special ammo. Big deal. You know what I'm saying? There are some missing sections from 3, but I just think they did a good job. So, let me go to Wilmy Hood. Wilmy, how do you answer this question? What do you want to see them make next? And do they need to make any other, first of all, what game do you want them to bring back?
I'm gonna say Code Veronica.
Yeah, I think that's so for Code Veronica, we know that it stars Claire and Chris. We know it's in Antarctica. It's in a different region. Lots of new zombies. Lots of new enemies. Would you want to see them just keep maintain the story the way it is? Because I don't know if you recall the game was pretty long.
It was. I don't remember all of it because, Jesus, I played 1,000 games since then. But I would definitely like to see that one come back. And I mean, we can keep our fingers crossed. Maybe they could do this maybe once a year. Pick a different one and just redo it once every year.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I mean that's listen. Again, if they did that, I'm not going to complain. Tempest Son, what game would you want to be remade? And more importantly, do you think that it would require subtle changes, very similar to 2 and 3?
Yeah, man, that was that was one of the things I loved about 3 is it was just a year later for being a fan, being able to play the sequel right after and it maintaining pretty much the exact same quality. I think they need to do Code Veronica. I do think though, I do think that, and they said they were open to this, they're going to remake the first one again.
I'd love to see it.
And I actually just played a bit of it today. I was sitting there right there with my wife. I was like, they would need to make a couple things because at the end of the day, that's just kind of it. That one's more enclosed than like Code Veronica. It really was just a mansion. But Code Veronica was probably the as far as I'm concerned, besides 6, it was the longest one.
Yes.
And it's not like 2 where you just replay the campaign from a different perspective. It is honest to goodness, like it's just a continuation of the story. It's just the first half is Claire, the second half is Chris.
Yes.
And that game was unbelievably cool. My boy Chris Redfield's in there. He's one of my favorite characters ever. Claire is freaking, I mean, just, imagine Claire Redfield again and a new shiny Chris Redfield in the same game. I'm sold.
That opening though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Ridiculous, dude. One of the best openings in gaming history.
Yeah. No, it was a phenomenal game. Also, the variety of places you go in that game is, huge as well. So it makes perfect sense. And also, I just want to say for these remakes here, I know it's just, a few Resident Evil fanboys, like foaming at the mouth for these things, but there's a reason for that. Even Code Veronica being on the Dreamcast, these games are old enough and they're from a time where almost any game imaginable, unless it was a 2D, like Sprite or something like that, these games didn't age well. Nothing from the original, 3D like this from like the PlayStation era, they don't age well. So almost more than any, I guess generation of gaming from like the PlayStation era, seeing these things being retold and made into a new proper game is just such a treat. And I think it's absolutely called for. Now, when you get into remaking 5 and 6, that's a different story, but I would even love those, to be honest. I'm biased, I know, but I would even love that. But
I hated 6.
I even liked 6. Wasn't my favorite by any means, but I liked 6. I got to play.
Oh my God, I hated that game.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people did, and
I bought it twice. Okay, so maybe I need to be committed.
Well, I tell you what, it was 4 campaigns. Each campaign, the 4th one was the shortest, but that was still. I mean, you played as I'm blanking on her name. The girl Leon has the hots for.
Oh, Ada Wong.
Ada Wong. I can't believe I blanked on her name. Yeah, you play as her, and her campaign was probably like the coolest of them all. But yeah, that game had issues, but I even love that one. So I would take a remake of all of them. So I know I'm a fanboy, so shoot me.
All right. Well, I mean, listen, real quick, Noof, do you want to jump in here? If
sure,
you were to pick what game you'd like to see be remade from Capcom next, it doesn't necessarily even have to be Resident at this point. What would you like to see them do next year?
Well, you know what I think could actually be a fantastic game if they actually completely overhauled it and made it into something completely different than fans expect. Take Mega Man, for example. Make Mega Man into a third-person action shooter. I wonder would that be pretty cool? Because so far we've pretty much only seen Mega Man as a 2D side-scroller type game. But they actually take him and put precise platforming in like was done in that what's that game that came out on the Xbox there with the girl jumping around with the dog? What was that?
Record?
Yeah.
Put Mega Man into that with precise controls and some really cool bosses. That would probably sell gangbusters for Capcom. I have no doubts. But honestly, I mean, from the Resident Evil series, Code Veronica has a special place in my heart simply because that was the actual first Resident Evil game that I ever purchased for the Dreamcast.
Wow, nice.
It was my first purchase, and I also think that's a large reason why Code Veronica sort of stands apart from its predecessors in a sense, simply because that was the first like next gen title from Capcom in the Resident Evil. The other ones were really confined to the older technology, where we started to see a large improvement in sort of the controls to some degree. Definitely the graphics were like mind-blowing back at its time on the Dreamcast. Like it's great characters and stuff like that. So that was mine. But if I had a pick from the Resident Evil games, I'm going to go out and probably pick one of the oddest ones, and that is Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
Reason why I love the setting, because it was so different from its other games. I also love the characters with Chris Redfield and Shiva. I thought that was awesome. And the best part of that game, and it's probably the downside for some people, was I could play it with a friend, and that was amazing. To play a game that you always love, but just to have somebody kind of help you along and somebody to watch your back, and it just made some of the parts that I've always hated about the other Resident Evils, like the inventory management stuff. It just kind of made that stuff less trivial to me, if that makes any sense. I wasn't as concerned about that, because if you play as well, if you got someone who's a really experienced Resident Evil person to take you into the game, it's fantastic, because they know how it works. They kind of walk you through it a little bit, you know what I mean? And I had a blast with that game. Resident Evil 6 was kind of like that, but it was so all over the place with that game that I really couldn't jive with 6 the same way I did with 5. But 5 was magnificent. So if they wanted to take a shot at any of those games, I'd be all for it.
Nice. Well, listen, obviously, we're going to move on to the next topic, because obviously we spent 40-something minutes over here. Real quick, though, I'm going to throw in my review. If I was sitting down in front of the computer and I was going to write for one of these so-called journalistic magazines, I would give Resident Evil unbiasedly a 9.0 out of 10, and the point I would remove for the length. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with this game. It's graphically, it's probably one of the best graphical games this generation, as you saw by in-game shots that I took on the PlayStation 4 Pro. It looked amazing on the X. There's literally nothing wrong with this game. And the only complaint I will address will be the length of the game at being anywhere between 6 and 10 hours, depending on who you are. But for someone like me, who is going to play through this game multiple times, that would be fine. Wilmy Hood, what would you give this game? Because you beat it and you played it and beat it.
I would give it at least we talking about a scale of 1 to 10?
Yes.
I would say an 8.7.
Nice. Okay, that's a strong score. And of course, we're not going to get Noof, because obviously he didn't get it yet, and Cyber hasn't played it yet, so it'd be unfair for them to score. But Tempest Son, what would you score Resident Evil 3 if you were writing this review?
Yeah, it'd be a solid 9, and it would get about 1 point less than 2, because obviously 2, there was A and B campaign on both sides, and the real true ending was locked behind completing them all.
Yes.
And if you cared, which I definitely cared, so it's that game was more like a 20-hour plus game.
Easy 20 hours.
So yeah, absolutely, yeah. So it'd be like a point less than RE2.
Okay, that's a strong score. Real quick, before I move on to the next topic, and this one is going to be fire. There might even be some salt thrown into the ring, into people's eyes, because it's going to be hot. And I mean that literally. It's going to be hot. Scott Ward drops an outstanding $5 super chat, but that is only the beginning of this particular super chat, because it's what he says that actually is even more important than his generosity. Boom, I just want to thank you and your array of guests for the awesome content. Best gaming podcasts in the world. Well, thank you, dude. Trust me when I tell you, hearing that, as generous as it is, and I greatly, truly appreciate the $5, it's the saying that I value more, because there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. And when I know that people are tuning in and actually enjoying it, it does make a content creator, big or small, very, very excited. But let's get into the next topic. So I'm going to bring up a quick screen before I bring up the actual title of what we're going to be talking about. So here, as you can see on the screen, it says PlayStation 5 is coming. launches holiday 2020. But is it? That is what we're going to be talking about, because a new damning report, an article that was published by comicbook.com and several other news media outlets are reporting that the PlayStation 5 is currently in serious trouble regarding its very serious heating issue that's been going on since the beginning of its inception. Now, we've been hearing for months now that V-shaped, a PS5 dev kit was not only running extremely hot, but it was running extremely loud. Now, the report comes from a variety of sources. Many industry insiders have heard from developers making games for the PlayStation 5 and are worried about some of the PS5's shortcomings. The report comes the way of Twitter user Jack Rickle, and he has been substantiated by, and get this, Windows Central journalists Daniel Rubino and Jez Corden, who have reportedly heard similar reports. The report begins by noting the collective feeling in the development community that says that Sony has dropped the ball, particularly because it underestimated Microsoft and the Xbox Series X. This could equate for the PS5 specs being considerably inferior to the Xbox Series X. Insiders close to the situation are confirming the PS5 cannot maintain its clock speeds, which is causing severe overheating problems, in which turn is causing the hardware to fail at an alarming rate. Further, the lack of power is also apparently leading to optimization issues, and while the Xbox Series X is reliable in terms of its power it provides, the PS5 is unpredictable, which in turn makes optimization very challenging for developers. Now, in this very detailed report, Sony is looking into a complete console redesign to alleviate some of these issues. And this redesign may lead to the console looking similar to the Xbox Series X, which, of course, that community, if we remember, everyone, was making fun of, right? They were talking and making pictures of it as a refrigerator, as a footstool. Some asshole made it the 9/11 towers, which, of course, I reported, and that guy got suspended because that was a total dick move. And you know what? Could you imagine what the community is going to be saying if, in fact, they take the design from Microsoft and make the PS5 look similar in design? Well, here is some of the reports that are so damning, if true, in my opinion, could cost Sony the entire generation. And this is pulled right out of the article. The debate within Sony right now is, do they delay the PS5 6 to 12 months to get it right? Or do they force it out and keep pace with Microsoft and deal with the high fail rate and performance issues that are expected? This also suggests that the overheating and failing consoles, listen to this, folks, could match or exceed the Xbox 360 Red Ring of Death. Holy shit, if that's true. Now, this is where we're going to get into the panel, and we're going to hear what they have to say. And I'll start with Wilmy Hood. This is unreal, Wilmy. And if any of this is true, the overconfident and arrogant Sony that I talked about months ago could have shot themselves in the foot. What are your thoughts of what's making the rounds in the gaming media about the PS5 overheating?
Well, get ready to watch that thumb button get clicked down. I'm going to be honest. I've been watching this back and forth. Somebody in the chat keeps mentioning Jason. I have no faith in Jason Schreier at all.
Okay. Yeah, me either.
He proved he's a fanboy. He blocks anybody that says anything to him. The dude can just like pull his lip over his head and swallow for all I care. No great loss. But the thing is, this is being reported on multiple sites. I don't know if it's true. We don't know for sure. It is kind of funny that Mark Cerny comes out with his usual, magical math and his crazy inflated numbers. I'm a PC gamer. I know for a fact you can't overclock something the way they're talking about overclocking this thing and it not have heating issues. There's something about this whole thing doesn't make sense. And just like with the PS4 Pro release, he came out with all of his magic math and his numbers, and we saw how that turned out.
Right.
I think this may end up being the same thing. I think Sony sat back and they got, a little overzealous. They said, well, Microsoft isn't, they're going to, I think they just really underestimated Microsoft. I don't believe they really thought that Microsoft was going to come out with something like this Series X. And that's why Phil, as I said on this show before, he came out at the Video Game Awards with that Microsoft penis and dropped it on the table in front of everybody. That was the reason. See, there goes your thumbs down. And that was the reason he did it. He wanted to take them by surprise. He wanted to change the narrative. And the simple fact, like today, there was an article came out supposedly from somebody at Crytek, which was translated from like 2 to 3 different languages. Then that got shot down.
That immediately got debunked. Yes.
Oh yeah. Within what, like 30 minutes?
Yes.
And don't get me wrong. And anybody in the chat, you can hate me all you want. I have 4 PlayStation Pros in my house, and I have probably more games on PlayStation than you do.
Yeah.
I've always been a PlayStation gamer, just as like I do on the Xbox. But there is something going on with this PlayStation that they're just not coming out front with. I think they're waiting to see what Microsoft does, and I'm pretty sure Phil Spencer's sitting back to see what they do as well. That's why you've not saw prices come out, because I think whatever they come out with this PS5, that Microsoft's going to come out and price theirs the same, because Microsoft wants to control this gen.
Yes.
And I think they're actually going to do it this time. This is not going to be 2013. And you've got trolls all over the internet, all over YouTube, all over Twitter. And none of us truly do know.
Right.
I mean, we just don't. The only people that know is Mark Cerny and, the people that work for him. But we will find out soon enough. And I do believe that a lot of people are going to be upset. And I will be buying it the day it comes out. So there's that. I mean, yeah. I will buy the PS5 because I've got. I mean,
listen, first of all, I'm reading the chat as you're talking, and I got to be honest with you, folks. First of all, I didn't think that I needed to tell this audience that you should take this with a grain of salt. This was reported upon by many people within the industry. Now, most people in the beginning of their story, be like, listen, or towards the end, take this with a grain of salt. The fact that some people in this chat are getting so bent out of shape that I'm saying this as absolute fact, shame on you. Shame on you if you listen to my stuff and you think I'm putting a stamp on this. Folks, this is this is speculation town that we're hanging out in. This report came out, but you know something? Where there's effing smoke, there's fire. And we've been hearing for quite some time that the dev kits have been loud and they've been running hot. Okay, so now this report drops and this comes at this whole situation from a whole different perspective and angle. And I'm sorry to say, if you're a PlayStation supporter like I am, if you're going to sit there on your ass right now and tell me you don't have questions as to what the hell's going on with the PS5, you're a blind fanboy. I'm sorry, because that's the bottom line. The end of story. You have to ask questions when there are questions to be asked. Right now, Sony is in complete free fall, in my opinion. Sure. Do they have games coming out that are going to be generational defining? No one's taking away from that. But we're not talking about what they've done. We're talking about what they're going to do. And none of us can definitively say what they're going to do is going to be as epic as what they did in this generation. And quite frankly, based on the slipping and sliding and the sleight of hand that we've seen, I'm sorry. I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you. But continue, Wilmy.
I've got the feel, and you also have to think too, Boom. If this was flipped around, if this was
Oh
Microsoft,
my God, it would be bedlam.
oh yeah,
all
man.
over
If
it.
this was Microsoft, dude, the torches would be lit. There'd be people protesting in the streets. They would be at up in Washington, at their campus, lining up and down the streets,
100%
holding up
fact.
signs, but
Mhm.
I do game on everything. I always have, I always will. It's not going
Yep.
to change. But the thing is, there's a reason they're not coming out with any of this information. This is April. And don't get me wrong, I know COVID and all that stuff's going on. This should have been in place. Phil
Yes.
Spencer said Xbox Series X is ready to ship. They are done. They're ready to go. And there's a reason PlayStation isn't telling anything. And if you're a true Sony fanboy, you should be asking Mark Cerny what the hell's going on.
You know, it's funny you should say that, because we actually, Wilmy, I'm going to come back to you because we know his time is sparingly. We actually have Mark Cerny on the phone. Mark, first of all, thanks for joining us. I didn't think when when I sent you the invite that you were actually going to be here. Can you debunk some of what's going on and what we're talking about?
Well, guys, I have really been listening very attentively to the things that you have been saying about the PlayStation. I rest assured you things are going to be fine. Between the rapid pack math and, of course, the secret sauce, one way or another, we will get this done. I don't care if we have to put this console inside of a cardboard box, but we will make it work. It's not good for Sony or its fans if we just can't get this done. So I rest assured you, things will be fine. Just take your time. Don't stress. We've got bigger problems right now, okay? But we'll get the job done. It's going to be amazing. We're just working on the clock speeds right now, right? Because it could definitely it overheats from time to time.
Okay, hey, Cerny, I have a question for you. Do you want pictures of my earlobes now or after I bought the console?
Oh my God, this is great. Well, you know what, Mark, listen, I want to thank you for taking 5 minutes to listen. You're always welcome back on here. Once the PlayStation 5 comes out, if it happens to have a red ring of death situation and you want to come on and explain what you're going to do to fix it, you're more than welcome to jump back on. But let's get Noof in here. Noof, first of all, listen, you and I we've talked about this prior to going live. We knew that there were going to be some people that they're going to be in the chat. They're probably going to give thumbs downs and get very salty about it because, obviously we're insulting their brand, even though I support everything. But, what are your thoughts on the potential of this having an overheating problem? But more so, is it concerning that we basically know very little about what this console is going to look like, when it's going to launch? Do you have any concerns?
Of course, there's always concerns. And let me break this down for you guys and listen very carefully, okay? Because some people jump into your chat, Boom, who are obviously ready to jump on everything that we say PlayStation-wise, right? And it's not, don't take it that way.
Right.
Look, there's 4 or 5 of us in this chat right now, and that are probably going to own a PS5 and are already looking forward to it. This is what people forget. People in this chat, they own multiple consoles. They're probably going to own them 3 or 4 times even. Like me, I think I've owned 4 PlayStation 4s this year. I've owned more PS4s than I've owned Xbox Ones. There you go. That's part of your 102 million sales right there. But why would any of us want the PlayStation 5 to fail? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. If you're planning to spend $400 or $500 or $600 on a console, the last thing that you want to walk into the store is some guy tells you at the sales thing, do you know these things have a really high failure rate? It's about like 80%. So like if you walk out the door in like 6 to 10 months, this thing is going to be fried. Like, fuck no. Like, who wants that, right? I mean, if any of us knew back in the day that the Xbox 360s were going to red ring of death like they were, I'm pretty sure that Xbox wouldn't have sold any of those in the first year, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So be smart about this. Nobody wants PlayStation to fail. We want them to get it right. I'm not worried about their clock speed and whether they're more as powerful as Xbox was. This is not about power versus power here. This is about doing the right thing for them as a company, because Sony's in a position right now, while they are, the industry leader, They can't afford a fiasco like Red Ring of Death. This would swamp them. To be like several $1 billion. They don't have the revenue, guys. I'm sorry, that Microsoft does to bail out these type of mistakes, and that's why they ain't showing us system off. They're trying to get it right. Somewhere along the line, this thing can't ventilate properly. We even saw that with, like I said, PS4 Pro. If anybody owns one of these right now, guys, hands up. If you've had that thing in your living room and played a game like Spider-Man or God of War, and you get to certain parts and you think that thing is going to lift off, I swear to God, it's going to put some wings on it, and it's flying out your bedroom. Like, man, that thing's a whoosh. Like, I haven't heard a system that loud since the Xbox 360. Damn, those things were loud too back in the day. I think the only thing that comes louder than the 360 or the PS4 Pro is the Dreamcast. That fucking thing used to spin like crazy. Like,
yeah,
you know,
loud.
but that was totally different system back then. I mean, because it used to read from the drive, you'd hear that spinning, the zit, 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 you know. But look, they're going back to the drawing board, I guess. Like, I'm sure they got the tech inside is kind of in place, but it's how they can rearrange it, how they ventilate it. I definitely think there's something afloat here. There's some truth to the fire, pardon the pun, you know, because you see all the jokes. And at the end of the day, guys, it's only jokes. A lot of these memes and stuff that we do, it's just jokes. People like to poke fun. We do it on the Xbox too when they do stuff. I mean, there's lots of crap that come out for the Xbox too that we've poked fun at over the years. So it goes back and forth, right? It is what it is, and I'll leave it at that. Nobody wants PlayStation to fail because most of us here are probably going to buy one. I don't know if it's day one for me, but I might probably pick one up at some point in time. So yeah, we need this console to be good, and let's hope that they get it right.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Real quick, let me catch up with some of these super chats. First of all, Phase 23 BKNY drops a $2 super chat and says Jason Schreier debunked this already. Now, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I have to agree with Wilmy. Yes. Is he a good detective when he comes to getting information? Sure. Does he have his sources? Absolutely. But I have to agree with Wilmy when he says that he's a proven fanboy and he goes out of his way. There are times where you can tell when he's reporting on something for Xbox that he has no choice. As a journalist, he has to report on what he's being told, and you can almost hear it in his writing that it pains him to say anything positive about the Xbox. I mean, obviously, if you've ever heard him on social media, on any of these podcasts that he's been a guest on, he does put himself above everyone. This is why he blocked me. I called him a pompous ass because he said something disrespectful and he talks down to people. I called him out on it and he blocked me. Okay, well, guess what? The world is going to go on. I'm not too concerned about Jason Schreier disliking Mr. Boomstick. Wilmy Hood, I want to bring you back in for a second because I want you to finish your point, but I could not take up Mark Cerny's time any longer. I was happy to get him for 5 minutes. When you see what's going on, or the lack of seeing what's going on with Sony, and again, how do I come up with this? How do I equate this? I have been very, very open and public about my the way I love the way Sony is unapologetic about their advertising. They go for the juggler. And they did that for the entire generation. They started it at that E3 where they said, this is how you share games, right? And basically it was generation over. Now, and I said this in another show a couple of weeks ago, all of their rah-rah guys are gone. So they don't have anybody. I'm sorry, the head of Sony is a great businessman, but he's not but he's not a rah-rah guy. Now, Wilmy, I mean, again, this is just an opinion, so folks don't get bent out of shape if it's not your opinion. But for me, I'm going to own the PS5. I can't wait. What I'm concerned about is when I bring it home, is it going to overheat to the point where it's going to be broken? Because my PS4, when I got it on launch day, ran so hot, it melted the cord in the back. And I had to wait a week and a half to get a new PS4, which sucked. Yeah, it was like, I mean, like melted rubber in the back. I don't know why. Go figure. But what are your opinions about this? Do you think that there might be something to this story, even though maybe a significant portion of it might not be true?
I mean, it's like you said. There's got to be fire or smoke somewhere involving this. And I had a similar instance happen with one of my PlayStation Pros in my living room. I actually had to have an electrician come to my house because my PS Pro was kicking the breaker in my living room.
Oh, wow.
And I thought I had a bad breaker in my breaker box. Come to find out, it was the PlayStation had shorted out, basically. And there was no cord to fix that one. But I actually had to throw it in the trash because I took it to GameStop and they said, yeah, this thing's garbage.
Wow.
So, but you know, I don't know, and we really won't know for the next couple of months. So I'm hoping it's not an issue. I really hope it's not an issue, but I'm ordering it day one.
Yeah, me too.
I'll order 2 of them, one for me, one for the wife, and I hope it doesn't have the issues. But we will find out soon. And I have my fingers crossed it's not going to be an issue.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. You know what? I mean, no one, listen, anyone that wants a console or a company to fail, you probably shouldn't be a gamer. That's all I'm going to say. Because listen, when one company, wins, the other company wants to win more. And they do extra things for the fans to get that win. And they're constantly using each other as a leveler to succeed. So obviously Microsoft is going to be a better company this generation. Why? Because they got their teeth kicked in, right?
Exactly.
By Sony.
And let me just say this: if any companies had to go out of business, I would not want it to be Sony or Microsoft. Because honest to God, if we were just left with Nintendo consoles, I'd probably pull my freaking hair out.
I agree. If we were just left with Animal Crossing, I would have gave myself over to COVID.
Yeah.
I would just gave up. I couldn't handle the world of just Nintendo games and Animal Crossing.
God, no way, man.
Well, real quick, I'm going to get to Tempest Sons. Tempest, I'm going to get to you in a second. Let me just catch up on some of these super chats. Once again, Face23BKNY drops a $5 super chat and says this: you guys can doubt Sony as much as you want, but they have a proven track record throughout this generation. Yes, this generation in the past. You got to admit, if you are a Sony fan, you're not scratching your head since December 12th, 2019. Game Awards announcement of the Xbox Series X and Hellblade 2 with no rebuttal from Sony for months. If you're going to sit there as a fan of what they did before, which is what you're talking about, dude, and you're somehow okay with it, I got to question you. I got to be honest with you, because I'm questioning them, and I support everything. So I don't know. Real quick, Hassan Abuzid. I'm sorry if I butcher your name. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Abuzjade drops a $10 super chat, and he says that was freaking good. Haha. I think he's talking about the Cerny thing. Thank you for the super chat, dude. Super appreciate you being here. Emmanuel A with the outstanding $2 super chat and says this: support USA and buy Xbox, more important than ever. I mean, listen, the Xbox consoles are made in China too. You know what I'm saying? So again, support whoever you want. But listen, I think it's going to be a great console generation for everyone. I got a new super chat that just came in from RDM. He says this. He drops a $5 super chat and says, I'll get the XSX plus Game Pass to save money on first party and third party at launch. Buy PS5 in 1 to 2 years when Sony usually starts releasing their first party exclusives. Yeah, I mean, listen, again, Sony has traditionally not had a strong first party presence their first couple of years. I don't know if that's going to be the case, because I would really be disappointed if I had to wait 2 or 3 years for Horizon Zero Dawn 2, because I actually thought at one point that was going to be a launch title, which would be amazing. I think what's going to wind up happening is I think The Last of Us 2 is going to be held at this point to launch on the PS5. At least at this, because they did say they have no release date. And I think they're going to push Ghost of Tsushima to maybe that February, March, which they notoriously do very well. I mean, if you remember, Horizon Zero Dawn launched at the end of January, I believe it was in 2017, and then God of War came out. I think it was the last week of April or the first week of May. And you launch around those times, they do very well. So I can see them pushing that as well. But Tempest Sun, let me get your opinion on this, because obviously this debate has raged on for a bit, and I'm interested to hear what your theory is. Because look, I will never say any absolute unless it comes from Sony. If Sony comes out tomorrow and says, yeah, you know what, we're going to delay the PS5 until 2021 because they'll say something politically correct, like, right now the market, we're not going to be able to get it to as many fans as we want, and we want everyone to have an opportunity to buy it, so we're going to launch it in 2021. They'll never say that they're having a heating issue. They'll never say that. We'll hear about this years from now. But again, we've heard this, and you've been on many shows where we've talked about this, about the dev kits. Now we're hearing this alleged report, even though it's been debunked by some people. There's still something here. Do you have concerns for the heating issue, and do you agree with Wilmy Hood about the 10.3 being overclocked? It cannot maintain that power.
Yeah. Do I believe it? I mean, maybe a little bit, and that is just for the simple fact that this is not the same Sony we saw in 2013. We haven't seen anything. The only thing we've seen is two, I guess, third-party games that aren't exclusive. I mean, one's a year exclusive.
Well, yeah, they're both exclusive for a year, I think.
Yeah. So, but that's all we've seen. We don't have anything from Sony's first party. To be fair, we only have one game confirmed for the Xbox, and we know that more is coming because of what their studios are up to. But just by like simple, I don't know, math, or just looking at what the heck's done, the only game remotely close to probably being done for them is Horizon Zero Dawn 2, and I don't even think that's ready. So we don't know what they're getting as far as games go. Will they have games? Of course, absolutely, duh. But I mean, like, we don't know when they're coming. So they're showing us like pretty much nothing. And the only thing they did show us was disappointing. Dude, if you are only planning on buying the PlayStation and that's it, like, you won't even allow yourself the option of buying anything else, just take the L. Just take it. It's a weaker console. It's mathematically a weaker, inferior as far as only power. That's all I'm talking about here is only power. It's weaker. So even what they did show us is disappointing. It is what it is. A 9.2 teraflop that gets boosted to 10.3. It's kind of like whoop-de-doo. And the one thing I do believe about these leaks is they said Sony heard what Microsoft was doing, but doubted that they'd be able to pull it off. That I believe. Why do you doubt? Because people doubted when the rumor was it could be a 12 teraflop machine. Nobody believed it because it's a console. And 12 teraflops of the new RDNA 2.0, specs is ridiculous. I mean, it's rivaling and or beating in power a 2080 Super, which by itself is like a $700 graphics card. It's stupid how powerful this thing is. So they didn't think Xbox would come to play like they did. So they got caught their pants down. It is what it is. Oh, well, I guess we could wait on the PS4 or PS5 Pro in, 2-3 years, something like that. Maybe they can rectify the situation then. But as far as the heating issue goes, I hope it's not real. Honest to goodness, I honestly hope it's not real, because I will end up buying one of these things, and knowing my luck, the one I buy is going to red ring of death on me. It's just coming. I hope it's not real. And Microsoft could eat it. Now we can, damn Microsoft for the red ring of death issue all day long, because it was terrible. It was ridiculous how many overheated. It was a real problem. I went through 3 of them. I had 3 360s red ring of death on me. Ooh. The only thing I can say is all 3 of them, within a week, I got a new system. They just sent the thing to me. They sent me a new system. I sent my bricked one in a box, and I sent it to them. So they fixed the issue with that. Now Microsoft could eat that cost, and they had to eat a hefty cost. Sony cannot eat this cost. I don't think they could do the same thing that Microsoft was able to do at the 360. So they better hope that they get these issues squared away if it is real. I don't believe Jason Schreier for a second. I think the guy's a I don't, whatever. He's a character. I'll say that much. So, I don't really, he says it was debunked, but he didn't list anything. He didn't list any proof. He was wrong about many things as far as the PS5 goes already. He was obviously just as disappointed as we were when Cerny had his little presentation, because the dude was on Twitter all day long. It's actually so amazing. They're not marketing it right. It was actually so good. He was clearly disappointed too. Let's be honest here. So I don't know. I hope it's not true. I will own one eventually, and I don't want a system that's going to overheat. I preferably would have wanted something actually much more in the line of power of the Series X, just because I know I'm going to own one. I mean, who doesn't want more bang for your buck, right? I mean, you're silly if you say you want like something weaker for your dollar. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So, but yeah, I hope it's not true, honest to goodness. And if it is true, oh boy, I don't even know what to say about that. I really don't. They had time. Sony could have, went to the drawing board just like Microsoft did and made something similar, and they didn't. They probably never thought that they could make a PC-looking console. They probably never thought that was an option. Microsoft just went about it differently. They said, this is our power target. How do we make this work? They didn't say, let's make a cool looking V-shaped pizza heater of a box, and how do we make it, more powerful inside that box? So.
Well, people forget too, like the Xbox, especially like the One X was highly developed with what do you call it? The team that were doing the laptops that Microsoft has.
The Surface team.
So
yes.
like this is not like 6 or 7 years between consoles. They've had a lot of tech to work with, and they've got with a lot of smaller cabinets, and they work with a lot of variables. So like they are a very experienced team. But it's not kind of new with this, and it's not like a bunch of executives going, let's just throw some random specs out there and throw it in a box. Like they have a lot of gaming people now at Microsoft who kind of know exactly what they need to be doing and what their targets are. And if you kind of listen to Phil in that interview too, like he was talking about these targets like for years ago that they went above and beyond their like the sort of the targets that they thought for the time. Like it got to be almost impossible to future proof something because you're looking like 4 and 5 years ahead, and we don't really know how things are going to be. So I'd say, man, they hit the nail on the head pretty damn good.
Oh, thank you, Niv. You reminded me. And, with all this talk of is it going to be delayed? Is this going to be delayed? Yada, yada. What did they do? They shoved the actual president of all of gaming at Microsoft in front of a camera with IGN for 2 separate interviews, twice in 1 week. We got interviews with Phil Spencer, and both times he assured everybody our goal, and we're pretty confident that we're going to get this thing out. So they stuck the president of gaming in front of a camera for us to like reassure us,
Yeah, those interviews were freaking amazing as well.
They honestly were.
Yeah,
they honestly were. Yeah. So once again, Microsoft's doing everything right this time. As a fan and a quote unquote Xbox guy, I'm thrilled. For anybody else that had their doubts, just pay attention. They're doing everything right. So just, maybe give them a shot this generation. That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Cybernox, I know you've been sitting there chomping at the bit to get in here, and I want to
chomping. That's what I'm doing.
Yes,
yeah.
I want you to come at this from a different angle. Obviously, the heating issue may or may not be true. We've been hearing this for quite some time. This isn't something that just sparked out of nowhere with no substance, right? We've been hearing this in the dev kit for quite some time. In fact, I'm going to bring up what dev kit looks like. It looks a little worse than this. This was a redesigned one. I actually think that this design looks really sharp. I don't know if anyone else thinks that it's cool, but I would buy that no problem. But there's 2 questions I want to pose to you. First of all, do you believe where there's smoke, there's fire? And there's no pun really intended. But more importantly, do you think Sony could take a delay of this console based on heat?
Man, that's such a tough question. Just because I think Sony is actually doing this to themselves, leaving letting all these journalists and leaving everything to speculations because they've been so quiet. They haven't said anything. They don't tell us, anything about they reveal the specs. Mark Cerny did, but then they don't show us the console. And then, the old Sony would have just, stomped on this rumor right away, like, nah, this is not an issue. But because they haven't, it just lets everyone and anyone to go wild with this narrative. I will say that I believe that where there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire there, because it's not just one person saying this. There's multiple people saying this, and then there's people that that've gotten some of these reports right on the pass. So you gotta believe, or there's got to be some truth to that. The whole thing with this thing running so high is just kind of like everybody here mentioned. Wilmy mentioned this, Tempest mentioned this, and I think everybody did. It's just think about anything that you do, and then if you keep boosting something up, if you keep revving your car engine all the time, and if you keep redlining your car, if you can't sprint forever, you know what I'm saying? Things just give out. Like and it's the same thing with this. They consistently boosting this their chip to whatever it is.
It's going to burn out.
It's just gonna it's gonna run hot,
Right.
and that's what the problem is. I think they're in a really hard place here, because if they are in a redesign state, and if they do try to redesign this thing so it can boost more power, then they're gonna delay this thing. We don't even know when this would come out. So yeah, I'm not sure, man. If they do delay the PS5, which I don't think will happen. I think they're trying to get their messaging right. I think they're trying to get whatever they can right on this on their systems. But yeah, I believe that there's a little bit, maybe a little small fire where there's smoke right now.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I would prefer Sony not be as quiet as they've been.
Yeah.
And I would like some more information. I know that there's been some talk about IGN having some sort of summer blowout, and that has not been confirmed. Originally, it was reported that Sony was going to have some sort of a big blowout, but it turns out that it might be everyone. I don't necessarily think it's just going to be locked down to Sony. I think IGN is setting themselves up to basically, I guess, corner the market on a digital E3 of sorts. Just everyone coming to them to push their games and stuff. I would prefer Microsoft do their own thing from Redmond.
Yeah, you're
Personally,
just seeing two extremely different sides of the coin here. On one side, you have Microsoft with almost pretty much full transparency. They're giving YouTubers, they're giving Digital Foundry,
Yes.
people who knows tech, their box. Pause real quick, but they're giving them the Xbox Series X, putting it apart, letting them put it together, look at all the components, see how everything works, and then you have Sony, who I have never seen this generation. Like right now, this is like we've never seen this side of Sony. Like they've always been top notch. Like their marketing team probably one of the best marketing teams this whole generation, and for them to keep slipping like this, it's a little bit to their own fault, because they don't show anything, and then they leave, like when they do a presentation revealing some of the specs about their next generation system. It leaves people with more questions than answers, you know what I mean? And I don't know, man, this is going to be interesting once we actually see what the console looks like. And I think that's why they haven't revealed it yet, because if there isn't a heating issue, if they reveal the way the console looks, all these there's so many people that know about tech out there, and so many people making videos daily about it. Digital Foundry, like we said, Austin Evans, they'll be able to look at this and be like, wait a second, something here is probably not working right, or this thing may as well have a heating issue. So yeah,
they better be close to nailing their design soon, because it takes at least 5 to 6 months off to get enough of these consoles produced and shipped to make their target. So like I said, if they don't have this thing designed and finished by May, June at the latest, boy, they're going to be hard pressed to get this thing to their target audience come November.
And at this point, do you want them to rush it? Like, you don't want them to rush something like this. You know what I mean? Something that can potentially freaking red ring your console. Like, do you want that? No, you don't want that, man.
I'm going to say this. I agree with Noof. I think that I know, first of all, Phase 23 BKNY drops an additional and very generous $5 super chat and says this. Fun fact, Sony didn't show the PS4 console until June 2013. And yes, that is absolutely correct. They did have a small event prior, and then they had the big blowout in 2013. Here's the thing, though. There has been, again, we don't know what Sony is going to do. Sony seems a little bit out of sorts. Do I feel that they're going to completely bomb this generation? No, I wouldn't say that. I would never say that. I think they're going to eventually get it together. I just would like to know what's going on. And I guess maybe from a gaming fan's point of view, Microsoft has let it all hang out, right? They're like, this is a full-on nude colony for Microsoft. They're running around with their things hanging to the floor. Whereas Sony, they're all covered up to the neck. We don't know what they got. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to see something happen much sooner than later. And I have to, again, one call to Noof to this. If they don't get it together, they could potentially either miss the production of of the PS5 to release it on time, or if it does get released on time, it is going to be extremely limited, because you got to remember, Sony is a worldwide brand. And if the Sony PlayStation 5 is going to launch like the PlayStation 4, it's going to hit multiple territories at once because it's a more accepted brand. If they don't have the consoles to put out the same, production size, where's that going to? I mean, how are they going to divvy that up? Are the United States going to get 2 million copies sent across the country that we're all going to have to be fighting for? I'm going to tell you this, and I'll say this for both consoles: the minute these things become pre-orderable, get to wherever you're going to get to and pay for this. Give them your credit card number, or put the money down and pay for it in full, so you can guarantee that this console is going to be there on launch day. But I want to move on to the next topic, obviously, because we've been on this for quite a bit. And you know what? This one I didn't actually have in the show notes, so there's not going to be any real pictures. It's just going to be a bunch of guys talking about it. We have been seeing on many different shows that there's been a delay here on this game, right? The Last of Us 2 gets delayed. Very disheartening. I was really looking forward to that. Ghost of Tsushima, the collector's edition, I'm looking forward to. That's probably going to get moved. We have worries of Cyberpunk 2077. So I kind of wanted to poll not only the awesome nearly 350 people watching live, but I want to poll. I'm blown away. Thankfully the notifications are apparently working, which is great, because man, it's been tough the last couple of weeks. But I want to poll our esteemed, and I don't use it loosely, I actually mean esteemed panel of gentlemen here. And I'm going to start with Wilmy. Now, Wilmy, obviously, the current world situation is obviously, we cannot overlook the severity of what's going on. And at the end of the day, lives are more important than games, right? So obviously, everyone is practicing, or at least hopefully practicing, social distancing. And these teams that are filled with some of the most talented people that we all will never know. We're only going to see their names scroll past us as we beat a game, are learning to work in a situation that's considered very foreign when it comes to building games. Usually it's done on the premise in a studio with hundreds of people doing hundreds of and thousands of hours worth of work to make said game. And we're hearing that this year, 2020, because of the COVID-19, we could see a delay of every game past May. And it's just the thought of it is is unbelievable, because there's a couple of the caveats here. One, we're all going to be able to finally get into our backlogs and play some of these older games we've been sitting on forever. But at the same time, man, the pickings are going to be slim. And if we look at what's coming out, or what's scheduled to be coming out, we already know the biggest tragedy of these workaround delays is The Last of Us 2. the potential of Halo Infinite not launching with the console. I mean, Phil said they would not hold the console for any particular game, and that's saying something because it's Halo, right? We're hearing potentially Cyberpunk 2077, a lot of people's game of the year already. It may not be out. Ghost of Tsushima is gone. Out of these delays, Wilmy, for you personally, what would be the, I guess, backbreaker or stab to the heart if it was delayed for you?
It already happened. The Last of Us 2.
Oh, well, there you go.
I mean, it hit me pretty hard, man, because I was counting down the days. We only had like 50 days to go.
Yes.
And they yanked that one from us. So I guess next will be Ghost. And then it may be Cyberpunk. I hope not, but maybe we'll get lucky and we'll actually get Cyberpunk in September.
That's possible. I mean, they have been working on that game for quite some time, and I don't necessarily know how bad it is there. Where, I mean, obviously, the social distancing is something that's being, throughout the entire world, and obviously, people's safety comes first. But yeah, I agree with you. I think The Last of Us 2 for me is a big one because I really want to see what happened with Joel. I want to see Ellie's story. I want to see where it continues from. Does it continue from the end of 1? It looks amazing. It's probably going to be one of Sony's grandest titles in the history of the PlayStation. That's how big this game is going to be for them. I mean, is there any other title that matches that for you personally? That would be like, oh man, I don't want to see this one delayed. Is there anything that I didn't mention that you may have in your wheelhouse that you were looking forward to?
No, that was the main one, was The Last of Us 2.
Okay.
And I was actually looking more forward to that than I was Cyberpunk. So yeah, it's already hit. I'm already pretty upset, but I mean, there's nothing we can really do about it now. So
yeah,
we just have to have patience and wait it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Nuka, let me get your opinion on this. For obviously this is when you look back at the years, I don't know if you've done it or anyone in the chat or anyone on the panel's actually done this. I find myself saying, my God, the year 20XX was the best year in gaming, right? I mean, you could look back to 2018 and say, wow, that was a heck of a year, not just for Sony, but just for gaming as a whole. And 2020, I thought, before we knew anything about COVID-19, was going to be potentially bigger than 2007 during the PS3 360 era, which to this day may not ever be touched. I mean, we saw so many unbelievable new and old IPs make a return in ways that we're still talking about 2007. And 2020 was shaping up to be that year with not only 2 consoles, but all of these incredible games. For you personally, what is the one game that potentially past May that's going to be delayed, that could be the heartbreaker for you as a gamer?
Well, since I don't have my PlayStation 4 anymore, I guess you could say this one is not as heartbreaking as it could have been, but definitely with Wilmy on this one, with The Last of Us. And I don't think there's too many people out there, especially if you're a fan of the first game. You'd have to definitely put that one up in the high category of games that really suck. I mean, this game's already had several delays. I suspect it's going to be magnificent. I have no reason not to believe that the crowd at Naughty Dog don't have another fantastic game in the works. Ghost of Tsushima also looks like a fantastic game. I don't know where that one's going to slide, but this definitely sucks for gamers. This whole year so far, for the most part, has pretty much sucked for gamers from a lot of standpoints, with the exception of a few things here and there. We're even seeing that with the movie industry right now. Lots of big studios pulling their big 2020 releases off the summer calendar, moving them to later in the year and into next year. I suspect much of that's going to continue with gaming. It depends on how much of these studios it depends, I guess, where they are in the process. I mean, I suppose if you're, 75, 80% of the ways through and you're kind of getting down to the bug testing phases and things like that, it's probably more manageable. But if you're not that far along, it's questionable. I think there's a lot of question marks right now about Halo. And, we talk about Sony being quiet on stuff too. This is the one that kind of blows me away, is how freaking quiet Xbox has been with Halo.
Yeah,
like for a game that's this close, we really haven't seen anything profiling on Halo yet, other than the odd pick here and there, or the odd from way back. But you think by now they'd be really like, man, Halo, guys, getting people pumped, right? So we don't even know if that game, and that would be my next big one. That if that one gets delayed, I'm going to be stupid disappointed, because I am so excited for the next series in Halo, and the fact that it's going to come out, supposed to come out alongside of the Series X and be a bit of a showcase for what this console can do for us. That's a big thing. So but the positive to take out of this, and I said this the other day on my Twitter page, and please use this one, because I've said this in the past and I'm an advocate for it, that right now the industry is almost flooded with too many games. I know that sounds really stupid.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, understandable.
We're all struggling with backlog after backlog, and as fast as I can put one down, another 10 games are out. Nintendo just I don't even know how they sell indie games on the Nintendo, because every time you go to the Switch, there's 40 of them. I think they just said last year alone they released 1,500 indie games on the Nintendo shop. Get a load of that, guys. 1,500. And how do you expect to find a great indie game when you got that many bloody games? Thank God Nintendo actually has a lot of those games you can actually try a demo of, so that's a bonus. But man, that's staggering. You know what I mean? So get to your backlogs. I'm going to use this as a perfect excuse right now, this isolation. Then that's exactly what I intend to do, is to start plugging away at the backlogs, beat some games that I've been yakking about forever. I do want to beat The Witcher. That's one of my, before I die, my bucket list things is beat The Witcher 3 before I die. And I might be 80 when I get there, but that's one of them. So yeah, you use this right now as don't complain. If you got tons of games, if you got no games to play and you're disappointed about delays, that's different. But man, if you got no games to play, like I said, you're either pounding away way too many games, or you just don't buy nothing. I don't know, because I don't know a single gamer that doesn't have at least 20 or 30 games.
Oh, my backlog.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. At least I got one guy the other day. He said he had, I think his backlog was 200 or 300. It was something stupid. Way up there. It's dang. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's too much of a backlog. My God, stop playing those long open world games. Play some shorter games. Get beat down on that 200 plus. Oh my God, that's sick. Real quick, I want to bring 10% in here and get your opinion. But real quick, Face 23 BKNY, thank you for your outstanding generosity, dude. He drops another $5 super chat and says this, and it's very true. Microsoft wants to start the next generation already. They want to forget this one and move on. Sony still has bangers coming out. That is a fantastic and very true statement. JD Gamer, a very good friend of the channel, also very generous with the outstanding $10 super chat and says this: the faster CPU GPU combination with higher CU count and T-flops is nonsense. Here's the proof. PS4 CPU 1.6 gigahertz, GPU 800 megahertz, 1.8 T-flops, and 20 CUs. And it says the Xbox CPU is 1.75 gigahertz, GPU was 853 megahertz, and 1.3 teraflops and 14 CUs. I mean, listen, the numbers don't lie, folks. It is what it is. But Tempest-san, let me get you in here. Obviously, we are dealing with an unprecedented time in our lives that, and listen, folks, I unfortunately can say that I spent a significant amount of time, boots on the ground, on ground zero in 9/11. And I can tell you that I never thought in my entire life as a human being, forget the fact that I was a police officer, forget that for a second. As a human being, I could ever witness anything that you could equate to a Godzilla movie being real, because that's what it looked like when I was down there. Buildings gone where they used to be. And I thought to myself, I will hopefully never experience anything like that. And I hate to say this COVID-19 shit it trumps that 100-fold, maybe more, maybe 1,000-fold, because it's not one continent, it's not one group of people, it's not a race, a creed, a color, a religion, or a sexual preference. It is a world pandemic. I have never seen anything like this, and as serious as this is, somehow or another, the gaming community is really in a great position to pass some of this horrific time through gaming. And so my question to you, Tempest Son, is with what's going on, game delays are pretty much to be expected. And they've already said that probably most games past May are going to be delayed in some form or fashion, potentially into 2021. For you personally, what would be the heartbreaker delay?
I would say Cyberpunk, because that's honestly what I'm looking forward to the most, or at least was before I got my Phantasy Star and my Resident Evil. But I would say Cyberpunk, but I expected the delay it already got, and so it getting another delay wouldn't shock me. So 100%, to me, the only answer is Halo. I mean, Microsoft, to New's point, they have been quiet. I think for a reason. I don't think it's a bad reason. I just think when they finally show the actual gameplay, we've heard rumors about the grappling hook and all this stuff. I can't wait to actually see what this looks like on the Series X, the new Halo ring, the environments, the life forms, the creatures. How's that going to play a role? How much of like a Metroidvania type element is going to be in the game? Especially, they say like you unlock like hooks and stuff. Whatever they call it, the grappling hooks, stuff like that. So there's just a lot about this game we don't know. We've only heard snippets of, but this is their game. Master Chief is Xbox, and we haven't got a launch Halo with an Xbox since the original. And this is it. This is their moment. If they fail, I don't even know what to say.
I would be devastated.
I don't even know what to say. But they've put so much money into this, and their development team is so unbelievably large. I don't know how they can't at least brute force a good game. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, because of the new engine and everything like that, I'm not even the world's biggest Halo fan. I was at one time, but that day's long past. I think they've needed a shot in the arm. I think Halo has needed a little bit of oomph. The last time I truly, truly enjoyed Halo was the campaign of Halo 4. Like, that ending was brilliant. And that was 343. And they gave me that. So I think if they put their chops from the multiplayer, new engine, they know they need to nail this one out of the park. You put all that together, and I am actually extremely excited for this Halo. And if that got delayed, at this point, I don't know if they want to release one without the other. I think they want this Halo with the Series X. I think that's what they want. And I think it's a great plan. So if Halo got delayed, at this point it would seem extremely awkward getting the Series X without it. So
yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of like peanut butter and chocolate. You can eat one without the other, but is it really that good?
Yeah.
I don't know. Cybernox, let's get you in on here. Obviously, you have a backlog you have a backlog for a couple of reasons. One, you got a little one, and he takes up a significant amount of your time. So there's a good chance your backlog is going to continue to grow. But even with that said, for you personally, 2020, like the rest of us, was shaping up to be one of the best years in gaming from all aspects. Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One X, Xbox Series X. For you personally, is there a particular game that, if it's delayed, is going to kind of be soul crushing for you?
Oh, this is a tough one because kind of what you alluded to this year alone. Well, it's probably going to be one of the biggest years in gaming, man. We were gonna have, or we still are potentially gonna have some tremendous games w- this year. After May though, I'm stuck, man, between The Last of Us Part Two and Halo. The Last of Us Part Two obviously already got delayed indefinitely, but just because the first one was the story of it was so well done. I love that game. It was amazing. And Halo, because I think this is probably one of the most important Halos in a long time. 343, I think they have a lot to prove with this one. And it's gonna be like Tempest mentioned, it's 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 the only other Halo to release with a console launch, and they need to. If this Halo here doesn't like awe a lot of people and be one of those critically acclaimed games or a must play game, I think we're not gonna see the Halo franchise for a little while till they figure out what they want to do with it. So I think in my eyes, I might have to go with Halo too. I think if Halo gets delayed, I'm gonna be a little bit I'm gonna be a little bit hurt. My soul's gonna be devastated a little bit, but because we know with Cyberpunk, like CD Projekt Red has a great track record, and they're doing something special with that too, and you can expect delays with a game with that caliber, with what they try to do, with like if you played any of the Witcher games, how much they try to put that into how much they try to fill their world and with side quests and how much content they give you. But I think Halo, like I used to be such a big Halo fan, and for some reason, man, after I think Halo 3, it just it just went on the decline, and I want this Halo to be the Halo that brings Halo, up again, and it raises them, from the dead, for a lack of a better word. So I would say to me, Halo Infinite is probably would be the one that would be soul crushing to me.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people, look, I'll be honest with you. Halo 4's story was fantastic. Graphically, the game was gorgeous, handled well. Not a big fan of the new enemies. I'm going to be honest with you, but I enjoyed the story. Then 5 was supposed to be the second coming, right? It's obviously was 343's sophomore year. A lot of big commercials, a lot of ridiculous advertising that had Locke versus
Oh, that
Chief.
advertising was amazing.
It was ridiculous.
Oh my god!
One was
so
Chief was
good.
dead. The other one was Locke was dead. It was like, oh, this is going to be epic. This is going to be the Batman Superman fight that we want. And as the story progressed, it was womp womp. It didn't hit on all cylinders. So
it just didn't make sense, man.
There was a look. Let's just say this. I have to agree with everyone that says that Halo, but you know what? I'm not going to say it's my most heartbreaking. I'm going to say one that no one has picked. No one in the chat has even talked about, and it's because I'm such an MCU fan. Marvel's Avengers. This is supposed to come out in September. It's already been delayed multiple times. Obviously I didn't get a chance to get, the line was just so outrageous at last year's E3. I didn't get a chance to get hands on with it. I really wish I would have. The game looks dope, and it's by the A team that brought us the Tomb Raider, the second one, which is one of my favorites. And I mean the A team of that developer of Eidos or Crystal Dynamics more specifically. I am expecting big things. I would actually, I think that's going to be delayed too. I don't know why I feel that way, but I think that's going to get a delay. As much as I'm looking forward to Halo and The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima, those are all real easy picks for me because I'm such a superhero nerd. I was looking forward to, Marvel's Avengers. I think it has a tremendous amount of potential. I'm interested to see what the single player versus hanging out with your buddies is going to be like. The dynamic of that is going to be very interesting. I want to know what other characters outside of the core Avengers that we have. I mean, we know Miss Marvel is going to be there, which is pretty interesting because She's never been in a game before. I mean, we've played Iron Man, we played Thor, we played Hulk, right? We played Captain America. But it would be Kamal Khan is going to be a great addition to the Avengers. I just want to know who else they're going to bring in afterwards. We're going to get Doctor Strange. We're going to get Black Panther. Is Spider-Man going to make an appearance? It's going to be great. But I think that for me, that would be the heartbreaker of all of the games being that. I mean, like I said, the easy ones are Halo and Last of Us, but I wanted to go a little different.
I'll tell you what, an indie. I wouldn't know if this would be an indie, but if this game gets delayed, this is a game I've been watching since I saw it at E3. It's 12 minutes.
Oh, that
game looks amazing.
So good, dude.
That gets delayed. I'm gonna be like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, I don't know how big the team is. I don't know if they work
one guy.
Oh, it's one dude. Okay, yeah. So I mean, maybe it's not going to be a problem for him to work from home because he's probably working from home. So maybe we'll actually get, it's another game that Phil Spencer talked about on that interview from IGN. I don't know if anyone remembers this. The Last Night. It was supposed to take place during the cyberpunk world. It was a side scroller that kind of reminded me of Flashback from back in the days.
It's like Blade Runner.
Yes, really it looks so good. Oh my God. Look, I'll say this. We're closing in on 2 hours, and this has been a great show. I did have another topic, but I'll bring it up another time. Not that big of a deal. The Sony one, and of course the Resident Evil one took a little bit longer, but that's fine because this is a conversational podcast, and we don't get to all the topics. You'll hear it on another show. I do have a special edition Xbox Factor podcast launching tomorrow at noon. Insipid Ghost is going to be there right along with Zemi. We might have a surprise guest or two, but I'm trying to work on that right now. So let me get everybody out of here. First of all, this has been a great show. We had over 350 people live, which is magnificent. The chat was fantastic as always. And of course, I have to say this, and I never get tired of saying this, the generosity from the chat is just not to be believed, and it's greatly appreciated. As a matter of fact, two of them just came in. It says the Sunder's Child drops a $2 super chat and says this: Resident Evil has not been scary in years, dude. I don't necessarily know if I believe that, because Resident Evil 2 may not have been horrifying, but at least I know I was looking around the corner, and Resident Evil 3, I was definitely looking around the corner not to get bit. But let's start with our guest, Wilmy Hood. Obviously, you have a show coming up this Wednesday, and I want to thank you, of course, for everything that you do for this community. I hate that you get so much ridiculous, unnecessary hate, but this is why your block hand is so strong. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check your channel out on YouTube.
You can find me here on YouTube every Wednesday night on my channel doing Gaming Beyond the Box at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find me on Twitter at Wilmy Hood. You can find me on Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Epic, Switch, and even on Stadia. How you like that? All you gotta do is just type in Wilmy Hood and you can find me there. And yeah, great to be here as always. And it was fun talking, and I watched the thumbs down start hitting as soon as we started talking about Sony. So it was
listen, what are you gonna do? I guess shout out a good friend of the show, many shows, Lito Papa, the sheriff, keeping the streets safe from the a-holes and trolls of the world. Lethal, thank you so much for being here, dude. Super appreciate what you do, not just for me, but for a tremendous amount of the podcasting community. We could not do it without you. And next up, Noof Nukem. First of all, I know that you brought Arnold. So Arnold, sorry we didn't get you in during any of the other major topics, but you know what? More importantly, how is your health? Have you been affected by COVID-19?
No, Boom, I'm here. I was listening to the show. It's fantastic, and I'm staying away from everybody. Now, if you've been following me on social media, I've been out riding my bicycle because that's what I like to do. I like to stay fit. I like to stay healthy, but I'm in the house, and I'm playing games, and I've got a couple of donkeys. That's right. I'm even playing with those assholes. So, so we're having fun, having a good time. I just want everybody out there to be safe and just go play some games. That's what it's all about.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Definitely taking time. Make sure that you are wearing a mask when you're riding the bike because you don't want that stuff flying in your face. And of course, thanks for taking 5 seconds, to come and hang out and listen to the show. But Noof Nukem, do me a favor, dude. You obviously have a tremendous show with Primal Eve. I know that you're possibly, potentially adding an additional member maybe sometime down the line. And I think the community as a whole will be very interested to know who and where that's going to happen because, quite frankly, your show is awesome because it's so different. It's more adult, but it still brings in game, but adds a bit of a flavor to it. I might add. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out your awesome show.
First, Boom, thanks once again for having me. Always an honor and a pleasure to be here with this fantastic panel. And yeah, I've been learning from the best from Wilmy Hood that block button is life. Wilmy's got more blocks than a game of Minecraft. So I haven't put it to good use. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. Chat's been fantastic. Apparently the Cerny thing was a bit of a hit here, it seems. So that's kind of fun. Good stuff, guys. It's all in jokes. It's all in good fun. So don't take
all
any
jokes. Yes,
all jokes, guys. Please. But yeah, man, to find me always in the gutter tomorrow night at 10 Eastern on my YouTube channel. It's Gaming After Dark. Myself and co-host Primal Eve. That's right. We bring you some news about gaming, movies, pop culture, et cetera, et cetera. We do with a little bit of an adult flair, but it's not that bad. Like, it's not like the whole thing. It's just, a few things back and forth. We do have a special guest tomorrow night. Mr. Dirt Griggity is going to be joining us. Excited to have him. First-time guest on my panel. And the week after that, we do have a very big special announcement, which I can't wait to break to people. But you'll have to tune in for that. But anyway, Boom, as always, man, thank you so much for being here. Keep up the good work, and we'll see all you got awesome peeps later.
Yeah, it was great having you on, dude. Certainly appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. Obviously, every time we have you on, it's always a fun time. Next up, we have Tempest Sun. Obviously, dude, you are still, I'm assuming, playing PSO2. And if it's not that, it's Animal Crossing. And if it's not that, it's Resident Evil 3. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media and potentially be sniped by you on Xbox Live.
Thank you once again, Boom. Had a good time. I loved all the topics. It was awesome, bro. You can find me at the Tempest Sun on Twitter, and Tempest Sun is my gamer tag. So yeah, you can find me there. And I really gotta pee, so I gotta get out of here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Well, listen, you go take care of business, brother. We'll be talking soon. And last, and in no way least, our resident Cape Crusader, Cybernox. First of all, dude, thank you so much for hanging out with us for 2 full hours. Obviously, you do have a little one that is probably not running yet, but he will be shortly. Definitely appreciate having you on the panel. Do me a favor, tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out your YouTube channel and where you do some streaming every now and again.
Hey, I appreciate that, Boom. Thank you so much. It was great being here. I love Mondays where I, come here and I talk game with you guys. Fantastic panel. New Filmy, my brother Tempest, you, Boom. Fantastic as always. You guys can find me on Twitter, Cybernox. Sometimes I'll be streaming on twitch.tv/Cybernox, and YouTube also Cybernox. I've been a little bit low on content recently just because little time, but I gotta get back in there and start putting some stuff out. I know my 100+ subscribers now deserve it, so I have to do it for them. So yeah, always great being here. I can't wait for next Monday.
Well, definitely appreciate you being here and taking the time to hang out with us once again. Of course, I want to thank everybody in the chat for staying 2 hours, getting us over 350, live chat. That's really big for this small program and channel. Definitely appreciate everything that you guys do, guys and gals do. I want to wish everyone safety. Obviously, again, not to get too political, please, folks, try and adhere to the rules. I know everybody's getting a little stir crazy and, everybody wants to get out. But right now we are on the cusp of probably one of the worst weeks we're going to see, at least in this country. And do your part. Stay home. If you're going to go out, cover up, man. Wear a mask. Even if you have to use the same mask, just spray it with some alcohol, let it dry, and reuse that mask. Try and just be safe. Wear gloves. and just try and do your part. And I'll close out with something my dad taught me when I was real small, that is more important now than it's ever been. One, treat others how you personally yourself want to be treated. And the other thing is, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So I want to wish everyone safety, love, health, and of course, we will see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. Good night, everyone. Take care.